Welcome everyone to Gait Analysis. My name is Dr. Jordan Casper, and this course will focus on understanding human movement through the lens of walking and running. This first lecture is intentionally slow, detailed, and foundational. Everything we do for the remainder of the semester depends on your understanding of this lecture. I want to be very clear from the start. Gait analysis is not simply watching someone walk and pointing out what looks abnormal. Gait analysis is the process of understanding why the body moves the way it does, what problem the body is trying to solve, and what the cost of that strategy is over time. As physical therapists, you are movement problem solvers. Gait is one of the clearest windows in the neuromusculoskeletal system that we have. I want to briefly talk about my background so you understand where my clinical bias comes from. I completed my undergraduate education at UW-Oshkosh in 2018 and earned my doctorate of physical therapy degree from Concordia in 2023. My clinical practice is primarily orthopedic and sports-based, but gait analysis applies to every setting you may work in: orthopedics, neuro, geriatrics, pediatrics, acute care, and outpatient sports. I currently work at Fox Valley Physical Therapy. Every concept you hear in this course comes from real patient presentations. People with pain, weakness, fear, compensation, and goals that matter to them. I hold certifications in rock tape, dry needling, and Titleist Performance Institute Level 1, which heavily influence how I think about force production, load transfer, and efficiency of movement across the kinetic chain. Your clinical bias will shape how you interpret gait, so I want you to be aware of it. By the end of this lecture, you should be able to clearly define gait terminology such as step, stride, cadence, velocity, and basis support. You should understand both traditional gait phase terminology and Rancho Los Amigos terminology, and be able to move fluidly between them. You should also begin developing a systematic way to observe gait. That means knowing where to look first, what matters most, and how to avoid getting lost in small details too early. These objectives are foundational. They are not isolated to this lecture. They will be assumed knowledge moving forward. So let's get into it. Why study gait? Gait is one of the most complex functional tasks humans perform. It requires coordination between the nervous system, musculoskeletal system, and cardiovascular system. From a physical therapy standpoint, gait tells us about strength, mobility, balance, confidence, pain tolerance, and endurance. Many impairments reveal themselves during walking long before they appear in isolated testing. Gait analysis also allows us to see compensation patterns. The body will always choose a strategy that allows it to keep moving, even if that strategy is ineffective or damaging over time. The body prioritizes movement over perfection. Gait is defined as the manner or style of walking. Normal gait is cyclical, rhythmic, and efficient. Efficiency is critical. Walking should minimize energy expenditure while maximizing stability. Any disruption to strength, mobility, sensation, or motor control will alter gait. These alterations are what we identify as gait deviations. The gait cycle begins with the initial contact of one limb and ends when that same limb contacts the ground again. Each lower extremity has its own gait cycle occurring simultaneously with the other. Stance phase makes up approximately 60% of the cycle, and swing phase approximately 40%. These percentages change with speed, pathology, and assistive devices used. Stance phase is when the foot is in contact with the ground and responsible for weight bearing, shock absorption, and propulsion. Swing phase is when the limb advances forward and prepares for the next contact. Understanding stance is critical because most gait deviations occur here due to load demands. If you only analyze swing, you'll miss most of pathologies. The traditional phase includes heel strike, foot flat, mid stance, heel off, and toe off for stance, followed by acceleration, mid swing, and deceleration for swing. You will still hear this language in clinics and documentation, so it remains important. Rancho Los Amigos terminology divides the gait cycle into 8 phases based on functional goals. This system emphasizes what the limb is trying to accomplish at each moment. This is particularly useful for understanding pathology and guiding intervention. We will be mostly focusing on the use of Rancho Los Amigos terminology as we go throughout this class. All right, now breaking down the gait cycle. This diagram shows one complete gait cycle. I want you to begin associating each phase with joint position, muscle activity, and loading demands. Over time, this image should become automatic in your mind. Starting with the initial contact. The limb is positioned for weight acceptance. Hip extensors stabilize the trunk, quadriceps prepare to accept load, and dorsiflexors position the foot. Certain range of motion, the hip is around 20 degrees of flexion, the knee is in extension, and the ankle is neutral, and the limb position for weight acceptance with the heel rocker. Loading response, which is the second phase, shock absorption dominates. Knee flexion increases, the quadriceps work eccentrically, and dorsiflexors lower the foot under control. Mid-stance, the body progresses over the foot. The plantar flexors eccentrically control tibial advancement, and hip abductors stabilize the pelvis. Terminal stance. Propulsion begins, hip extension peaks, ankle dorsiflexion peaks, and plantar flexors transition toward concentric action. Pre-swing, it's a rapid unloading is occurring. The limb prepares to advance forward. The hip begins flexing, and the knee flexes to about 40 degrees. Initial swing, limb advancement begins. Hip flexors and knee flexion create foot clearance. The key muscles are your ellipsoas and rectus femoris to initiate the hip flexion, and your tibialis anterior to clear the foot. Mid-swing, the limb advances under the body. The tibia becomes vertical. The hip flexes about 30 degrees. The knee begins extending, and the ankle is in neutral. The key muscles to think about is the quads are again extending the knee, and we're having ankle dorsiflexion to keep the foot cleared. Terminal stance, the limb decelerates and prepares for contact. The hamstrings eccentrically control forward momentum. Where now the hip is decreasing in less than 30 degrees. The knee is going back into extension, and the ankle is back into neutral to make it ready for the next initial contact. This concludes part 1 of the lecture. If you have any questions, please email me.